Hey guys, welcome back. We're still working on our snake game. So we have the basic HTML interface created, or the markup I guess. So now what we need to do is style it, use CSS to make this look like this. Alright, so let's go ahead and our HTML should be all set. So let's open up the CSS file. Alright, so we're not going to do any, we're not going to include a reset or normalized file or anything like that. It's a very simple design, so we'll just have a few CSS properties to style. Alright, so let's start with the body. Alright, so for the body, we're going to give it a background. And the background is going to be an image, but we want to first make it black. We want the image over the black background. Alright, and then we'll say URL. The name of the image is background.jpg, and it's right in the same file with our CSS, so we don't need to include any folders. That's going to be set to no repeat, and we're going to make it top and center. Alright, and then the font, we'll say font family, we're just going to put in Arial. Alright, so that's it for the body. Next, let's do the links. Okay, so all links on the page are going to be white, so color and white, and then text decoration. I don't want any underlines, so we'll set this to none. Alright, and now we can do that. The elements we created. Alright, so we have a container. Actually, this is a class, so we need a dot here. Alright, so the container is going to have margin. We'll say the top will be 30 pixels, and then on the sides we want auto. We want it to be in the middle. Okay, so bottom 0 and top right, bottom left. Alright, so the left is also going to be auto. Okay, and let's make a width of 600 pixels, and we want to set the overflow to auto and the position to relative. Alright, so let's see if that made any difference. Alright, so there's our background image. We have the overlay here, which we haven't hid yet, and then we have the reset button down here. Alright, so let's continue on. The next thing, let's just make the canvas black. Alright, so actually up here I'm going to put it canvas, and I'm going to make the background is going to be black. And let's do a white border, 1 pixels. 1 pixel white solid. Alright. Alright, so there's our canvas. Let's actually make the border a light gray. And then we want to create the stats area, which is this area right here. Okay, so let's see, stats, and we're going to make a width just about the same width as the canvas, minus 10 pixels for padding and stuff, so 590. And we're going to give it a background of gray, kind of a dark gray. Actually, no, we're going to do the 3s. And then give it padding of 5 pixels. And the font size will be 20 pixels. And then we'll give it a font weight of bold. We want to make sure that the color of the the text is white, and a margin at the bottom of 5 pixels. And then finally we're going to set the overflow to auto. Okay, so let's see what that gives us. Alright, so basically it just gives us the padding, gives us the background. The two score areas, these are going to be generated through our JavaScript. But the next thing I want to do is the score div, which will be this here. Okay, so let's go back here, and it has an ID of score, I believe. Let's just double check that. Yep, so this is what we're styling right here. Okay, so score, and it's going to have a width of 25% and a height of 50 pixels. And we're going to do some padding on the top, 20 pixels, and float. I'm going to float the score to the left and give it a margin right of just 5 pixels. And then overflow auto. The background will be black. And we're going to align it to the center. Okay, and we're basically going to do the same thing with the high score div. Alright, so, and you know what, I was going to make a whole separate div for the high score, but it's going to have all the same properties, so I'm just going to give this, I'm going to make them both score divs, and that would make me want to change this to a class as well, since there's more than one. Okay, so that would be the class score. Change this to a dot. Alright, so now let's do the button, the reset button. Actually, let's check it out first. Okay, so they're blank right now, which is fine. Let's get this button a little bigger and we'll float it over here. Alright, so let's see, the ID is reset score, and this is a button. We're going to give it 10 pixels padding, and let's float it to the right of the score score blocks, and that's it really for the reset button. Alright, so what's next? Alright, so now the overlay, we have it up here. Alright, so we don't want this to show when we visit, when we first come to the page. We only want it to show when the user dies or loses. It should pop up. Alright, so the first thing we want to do is just hide that. So we'll say overlay, and we'll set it to display none. Okay, so that should make it disappear. Alright. Actually, let's do that last just so we can see it. Alright, so let's do a color. So the text will be white, and font size will be 25, and we want it in the center. Okay, now this, we want it in the middle here. Alright, so what we'd have to do is position it absolute, which means it can be anywhere we say, and it doesn't need to be relative to the rest of the elements. So what we did was the canvas, was it the canvas? We positioned something relative. Okay, so the container is positioned relative. So that means we can put it anywhere in the container we want by using just pixels. All right, so the amount of pixels from the right, from the top. Okay, so you want to make sure that your container has a relative positioning. All right, so down here we are going to say position absolute, and then we want it from the top, we want 170 pixels, and then from the left we want 180 pixels. Okay, so that should be good. Let's check that out. Alright, so what we want to do next is the click to play again link. Style that a little bit, give it a background color, so we can target that with overlay A because it's the only link. And we first want to make sure it's displayed as a block. We'll add a little bit of margin to the top and padding 10 pixels, and then we want to give it a background. Background will be gray. And then we want it to have a hover effect as well. So overlay A hover, and what I'm going to do is just change the background. I'm going to change it to a darker gray, almost black. Alright, so if we save it and we go ahead and reload, that looks a lot better. Okay, you can see it has that hover effect. The score isn't going to show right now, as well as these scores, because they'll be generated by the actual script. So it looks like our interface is complete. Now we just need to basically add the brain to it, which would be the JavaScript.